Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, doing an outside video today. It's a little warm, but the sun's gone down some, and in my ruminations over the last few days, months, years, whatever, I realized that, a lot of us think of life as this complicated thing, and it's all of this and that, and we must achieve these things before we die, and we've got these goals, and what does life really mean, and all that kind of stuff. And there's all kinds of really good thoughts on that. It's all about getting rid of old karma. Well, I read today or heard again today about somebody who says, this karma thing's just a bunch of hooey. But anyway, and I have kind of, like we make our own karma. But anyway, the idea though that, life, what does it mean? Well, I want to greet you all with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And that I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom from the universe. I almost forgot that. I'm so excited to be outside. It's hot out here. The dog's roaming around, and we've been needing to do something outside anyway. But the idea, though, that life is an adventure. It is. Whether we agree with it or not, what kind of job we take. Well, I'm going to become an anthropologist. What do you think about that? It's an old Smothers Brothers tune. But anyway, I'm going to be a sailor just like my old man. The idea that there's supposed to be some kind of meaning to our lives. Well, now I have a tendency to agree with that. What do we make of our lives? How can we do something with our lives? Our lives, what does it matter? I mean, just that kind of thing. But at the same thing, what does it matter in the long run? What matters is whether or not our energy is correct. If we've done bad, wicked, evil, mean, and nasty things to other people, what could we expect in the other life, in the afterlife, or the other life, or whatever? Some would say that nothing, whatever we do in this life doesn't mean anything, but I would have a tendency to disagree with that, and would along with other people. Whether you call it going to heaven or not, I'm just saying, if you want to reach a higher level of spirituality, you're going to have to be a little nicer than, and not be greedy, and, all of those kinds of things. So, because we can't take any of it with us. The only thing we can take with us is what's in our heart now. So in our heart, if we look at life as a chore, then everything is drudgery, everything is a this, and everything is a blah, blah, blah. And then the life it ain't fun anymore, People want to take the quick way out and, say, well, I can't handle this, and this is too much. And, well, there are circumstances beyond our control about the mask and the shutdown and all that kind of stuff, Okie doke with whatever's going on at the moment. And I say this like this. Now, you've heard me talk about my kayak adventures and going down the river and so forth and getting stuck for days, all of which is true. And this is my anniversary of getting stuck on the river about 5 or 6 years ago. So anyway. But here's the ticket, though. It's like, now, many people aren't very adventurous. They would never get in a kayak or a canoe, let alone a rowboat or something like that, and go down the river like I do. But here's the thing. In many cultures and many things, and I've discussed it about the river of life, there's so much of that is the idea of the comparisons is so true and so right on the money. But so if life is like a river, then, and we're on it, then we're going to run into some rapids. We're going to run into some places that the water's really high. And, you know, so if life is a river, then we must flow with it. But all rivers have got some kind of obstruction. Trust me. You know, there's been a lot of rivers I've been on, but there's, you know, now the Flint River's got rocks more than it does have trees and things, but there are snags and stuff along the way. But, you know, different types of rivers have different types of obstructions, like logs and things and rocks or sand or whatever. But with that said, though, let's consider the fact that, you know, when I go kayaking, I go with my, you know, I don't wear a helmet because I'm not doing whitewater. But I am wearing my you know, flotation device. So we can adventure, we can be careful, we can still have a good life. But there are so many people who are afraid to even get in a boat or on the boat to have the adventure. So they say, well, I'm an adventurous sort, but they don't go anywhere. They don't do anything. They take their adventure on their computer. You know, I saw this really great video of these people kayaking. Well, I've always thought about doing that. Well, you know, if you come to my house and let's plan a trip, it ain't going to cost you nothing but to get here. Help me put the kayak in the river and take it out. But I mean, you know, but the idea, though, that people have the opportunity in this lifetime to have the adventure of their life. Now, there are some folks who say, well, in order for me to have the adventure that I want, I must be greedy because I want a Lamborghini. I want a big house in the Hollywood Hills. I want it. But those are all material things. What does it do for your soul? Are those people who get those big houses, is their soul fulfilled? Well, they're happy. And, you know, and they walk around this big house and I think to myself, what a waste. You know, if you want to do something, there are ways to achieve and have an adventure every single day. But whether or not you choose to live dangerously to have that adventure, well, then now that's the thing, right? But so many people are lacking the gumption to accept I'm alive, okay, and it is an adventure. Because we don't know from one day to the next what's going to happen. None of us do. We kind of think we do, and we can project our thoughts. But when it comes right down dag-nabbit to it, none of us know what tomorrow's going to bring. None of us. Case in point, a friend of mine, and I usually see him about this time of month, and I'd heard that he had possibly had an accident with a lawnmower. So something about running over or something. And so he said, this is, unfortunately, this has been about 2 weeks ago, 10 days. But anyway, and I said, well, gee, I hope he's okay. So I was changing phones out and trying to do better around the house and taking care of things that should have took care of a long time ago. And one excuse or another. But anyway, so I'm going through phone numbers and stuff. And I go, oh, there's my friend Randy's number. Let me call him up and see how he's doing. Well, come to find out that a couple of weeks ago, he not only just had an accident, he was backing his riding lawnmower off of a trailer. And as he was backing it off, it flipped over on top of him, crushed a lung, gave him a concussion and some other things. He's now on a ventilator and on life support down at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital in Tallahassee, Florida. I don't know if there's another Tallahassee, but oh my God. So you know, and we usually talk once or twice a month or whatever, you know, and him and his wife, bless her heart, I called her up and she's just in tears and he goes, Mr. Dave, he was just backing up the lawnmower and he winked at me. And the next thing I knew, the lawnmower was on top of him. And she said, by the strength of God, I was able to get it off of him and call the ambulance. So he's been basically in a coma. They're not quite sure what's going to happen. And he was just going to mow his yard, brought it back from the shop. And as many of you know who are with the Milky Way Messenger Soul Tribe and Brian, one day he was here and the next day he wasn't. So I'm thinking to myself, I know it's not just me. A friend of mine that I saw the other day said, you know, a friend of mine, an associate, she goes, reportedly died of the 19 thing. And I said, seriously? She goes, well, that's what they're saying, but she was sick. So, but the thing is, though, that there are folks passing away, well, every day, but it seems like somehow they're not necessarily connected to me, but I'm like, wow, really? They passed away, and this person got it, and that person had, holy crap. You know, life is an adventure. We never know from one minute to the next what the dickens is going to happen. So what do we do? Do we worry about it? No. But by golly, we ought to be careful. And I am the king of doing stupid stuff in my younger days. Now, I never quite jumped off of mountains and did some of that kind of stuff. I did do some climbing way back in my early days in some questionable areas. I have been down in the ground in some really strange holes and, you know, mile or two back into a cave. Anybody, if nobody's ever been in before. And so, you know, I've done a few things in my life, but, you know, tried race car driving back in the day, and had, you know, kind of banged up a couple of vehicles from overdoing it a little bit. Nothing serious, but hurt the car. Learned a few lessons. But the idea, though, that life is an adventure. So we should take precautions. But for God's sakes, we should not be scared of life. Nor should, well, what is life going to mean? Well, once we pass on, where it's not going to matter then about this life. But the best we can do is to help folks along the way. Yeah, you know, I'm always talking about it. But it is the thing to do. That's how we achieve a better life at the end of it. It doesn't matter how much wealth or property or whatever we accumulate, or how good something is or isn't. You know, somebody mentioned the other day, and I'm just going to move my little camera around, and this is, I'm sitting outside my house. That's the woods back there in the back. And when I say the woods is behind my house, it is right behind the house. And right behind me here is where I'm trying to build the porch. And I got the foundation started and everything's coming along there and trying to get that straightened out. But somebody said, you know, they said, you know, what about your house? And I said, what about it? And they go, well, what about them boards on the wall, like right over here? And I said, that plywood's been there for 25 years. Well, are you going to paint it or anything? And I was like, no, not really. Why? Why should I paint it? Well, to make it look good. And I'm like, nobody comes down here. You want me to paint the house and all this other? Because if I paint it, then it's going to want to come off and then I have to bring it. The house is weathered on it by itself. Now, there's some boards I need to replace, but to the point, though, I was supposed to put vinyl siding over the plywood. And the plywood's been on the house for 25 years, 20 years. Well, no, it's been longer than 20 years. But anyway, the idea, though, but, you know, oh, but you to make it look better. Why? Nobody comes down here. And I do have somebody that would buy the place, but not necessarily for the house. And so it's like, and somebody said, you know, Mr. David, if you pass away or whatever, no problem. Somebody will come down here with a bulldozer and just level it and put another house in or something. And I was like, well, that would be a shame, but okay, you know, if you want. Now, what I was trying to do with my house was have a place for my family, any members of my family, to have a place to live. Nobody wants to come to South Georgia. I don't have any family down here. They're either all up north or all down south, further south. And it's like, okay, all right. 18 acres, a lot of place. But, you know, and I'm not, this isn't anything bad to anybody not accepting my offer, but to my point, though, there's been times when my daughter was homeless, but she wouldn't come here. Okie dokie. We make our own choices and we make our own adventure in life. So she learned some things. She met some people by not coming here. This isn't really her home. It's my home. But the idea, though, that my dream was to leave a place for my family. Well, my son doesn't come to see me, and my grandson, I don't even think he knows that I'm alive. So on that side, but on my daughter, nobody's going to give two squats or two hoots about whether or not this house is still here or the property or anything. And it's like, so my lifelong dream has ended up just being my dream, nobody else's. Although I've tried my best to include other folks. But the bottom line is it's just what I wanted. It was my vision, the landscape and how I planted the trees and how I'm putting in this porch that's going to have over my shoulder there is an old shower door, and I'm going to use shower doors for part of the roof. And I've got other windows stacked in behind me over here. That this whole thing is going to be not necessarily a Florida room, but it's going to be a porch / greenhouse. And, but that's because I want a greenhouse, not necessarily that I want a porch. But the other side of it was, and I can show you here a little bit since I've got this camera that moves around. I have to look over my shoulder. I'm using old brick that's piled up. Let's see. Let me get this thing sort of straight. That pile of bricks right there came from some old brick fireplaces that I tore down some tobacco barns back in the day. And so I've got my foundation and this side wall done. I'm using brick on the outside so you can see how thick the wall is. There's I'm trying to do this over my shoulder. There's the old brick is down here on the bottom, and then the block is right there. And then I'm going to put 2x6s on top of the wall. And I've had to dig way down. Let's see. Into the clay. Oops. Can't really tell. Yeah, so you can sort of see how deep it is. I've had to dig it really deep because water comes down the hill. Let's see, that being my hill, there's my poor old pickup truck that's been hit by several deer. But when the water comes down that hill right there from the tree line up in here, man, it flows through here like you. The reason I put the brick down the side of my house like this is because when it rains and comes off the roof and also off of the hill, it comes flying through here, and I have to channel it down into the woods. It was flooding. It was literally flooding my house. So I'm having to do all this work and everything. Hey, Truth in Me. But anyway, I had swore I was going to show you all around my house one of these days, and well, I'm sweating my tail off, but I just needed to be outside. Dogger, where you at? Where's my dog? Dogger, come on. He usually show up in a minute. But anyway, life is an adventure. So my building this house and taking care of this property, and this has been my adventure. But when I got an old pan over here on the side that the birds are eating out of. I just put some fresh bird seed in it. And right above me, there's a hummingbird thing. And the hummingbird's been coming in around the house. I got crabapple trees here that haven't put on any crabapples in years, but it was to draw hummingbirds because of the flowers and so forth. But anyway, so in my dream, in my reality, in what my adventure of life is, that I would be able to sit here on my front porch, if you will, and not have to worry about cars going by or pollution, blowing in my face, or having neighbors shooting guns. Although yesterday they were shooting guns over here at the neighbor's property. I mean, it was like pow, 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 pow. There must have been 100 rounds shot in about 30 minutes. They were really letting it go. But thank goodness they were doing it down Dad gum, mosquitoes sitting here in my shorts, and the skaters trying to eat me alive. Duggar! Usually, if I can see him, I'm okay. But he's still. He's got the roads up the hill that away a good ways, but he wants to wander up to the neighbors, and they will shoot him. They will shoot dogs. They don't go away. They literally shoot them. But anyway, but think of life as an adventure. My house, my property. This has been my lifelong adventure, and I'm apparently still on it because I'm still got some building to do. But it's hot, it gets cold, it rains, it doesn't rain. We have this, we have that. Life is just full of stuff. And if you ever have been on a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade skies, the idea, though, that you're never going to hit a rough patch. Now, there are those lazy rivers and you just float along, but even Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, and Life on the River on the Mississippi. There were snags and sandbars, and a flood would come, and I've seen it happen in the river. There's now a sandbar where there didn't used to be a sandbar. So things change in life. All these things that are happening around. I watched the live Donald Trump did a press conference earlier, and in less than 10 minutes after that conference was over, the other side was already claiming that Trump was making all these grandiose and that he was doing this, and I was like, I just listened to it. So it's almost like they had formulated opinion before his press conference was even over. And I was like, they're going live with how bad Trump did and what he said wrong. And I was like, he gave an update. He gave an update of this and that and this and that and that and this and this and that. They asked him about some other stuff. And he said, well, I'll have to get back with you on that. I'm not sure. I'll have to get back with you on that. So now all of a sudden, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. They were asking him specific questions, and rather than put his head in a political noose, he said, I'll get back to you on that. So now I'm thinking to myself, whether you like the guy or not, the fact that they, in less than 5 minutes, were already twisting his words around. And I was like, man, oh man, people just ain't got nothing else to do. So in their life of adventure, it seems that it's their part in life to keep the rest of us in some kind of chaos. Oh, this person's bad, and that person, and this thing, and that thing, and now if we don't wear a mask, we're oh my God, and it's going on and on and on. So my friends, hey, let's see, who else? Teresa, hi. I was just sitting around, bored, didn't want to watch TV. It's too hot outside to really do any work. I'm about to sweat to death. And I'm waiting on my dog to come back. Dogger. He's usually back by now. And he is so fast. I cannot keep up with him. But anyway, so life down here in South Georgia, some of the local folk have been talking, it's like, now there are certain places that won't let you go in the store where a week ago they didn't care if you had a mask on, and some people are doing this thing and that thing. But what the bottom line is, most people are waking up because they're going, I can't wear this mask and go in a store. I can't breathe. I've lost my breath. I'm doing this. And I don't care what kind of, they've tried 3 or 4 different masks. So somebody's getting rich off of the mask scheme. That's for damn sure. Now, and Trump even said in his speech today about how many more masks there were and how many more rubber gloves there were and how many more this and what type. And I'm thinking to myself, 6 months ago, nobody gave a shit about this. Excuse my language, but they didn't give 2 turds, And it's like, Now, all of a sudden, there are billions of gloves, all these extra masks and stuff and things for all of us to be safe when the numbers are technically dropping, except in very, populated areas. And they want to keep our groups to a minimum, so it's like, all right, okay. But still, life is an adventure. We're going to lock ourselves away and have no adventure whatsoever. Well, I make the dog an excuse, which I'm going to excuse myself here in a minute and go chase him down. Duggar! Where you at? Duggar! Come on home. There you are. There you is. There you is. You come from the... Have to say hi to everybody. This is my dog, Duggar. Hey, Duggar. Hey. Hey, don't knock my drink over. It's all right. Hey, Duggar. This is my friend that has become my friend. This is my four-legged, and you were up at the neighbors, weren't you? I see you. Look at him. Look at me. You know what I'm talking about, you silly dog, you. All righty. Well, thank you for coming home. Yeah. I'm glad you come home. Yeah, I know you was off running. But anyway, so I just wanted to get on here and hang out for a few minutes. I'm about to sweat to death. I go in the house and get in front of the fan. It's like 92 degrees with a 100-degree feels like temperature outside. But I just wanted to say, with life being what it is, instead of just bitching and complaining all the time, which a lot of us do, it's not that we don't care, but once you go through a set of rapids on a river, that's about it. It's like, okay, went through the rapids. So now what, right? Now we get on with life, right? Let's see if I can walk and talk and chew gum at the same time. I'll carry this back in the house and sit in front of the fan. It's hotter than a fool's mess out here, let me tell you. If I drop the camera, y'all just... Come on, dog. Yeah, walk around the house a little bit. Now I got to sit down in front of this here. It's a little cooler in the house, let me tell you. But the humidity is what's so high right now. Ooh, that a little better. At least for me, I'll sit here in front of the camera before. Hey, I see all these folks come on. I wasn't so. Dadgum, man. Oh, summertime's almost over. Hey, 65 Starlight. Yeah, Duggar. My friend calls him Swamp Donkey because of the way he jumps through the swamp. But anyway, he's my Duggar. Yeah, I'll feed you as soon as I get done doing this. Yeah, I didn't really have any plan except that I'm looking around and watching this stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, life is an adventure, but there are a lot of folks who just aren't very adventurous. They're not going to get in a kayak. They're not going to get in a canoe. They're not going to go down a river that, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do it. But we're here in life. And so many of us hide in our house with a gin martini or vodka martini or whatever, and a blah, 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 and a this and that. And I think to myself, and I've known a lot of these people, 6 o'clock every night, their martini, and they got their drink. And at a certain time this, and dinner's always at 6 o'clock. And it's always going to be set like this. And there's no adventure to it. Tuesdays are tacos or whatever, but hey, Debbie, how are you? Let's see. Truth to me, Teresa. I thought I saw Michelle earlier. Yeah, Michelle. Teresa. Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, so I just wanted to get on here and just, show a little bit of the outside of the house, and not that I'm so. But the thing is that my house has been here for 30 years, and I've got other folks who are like, they're having to redo this. Now, my house needs some repair. But it's not that I have to tear out walls or anything yet. Although I got a leak back over here, and I do have a section of the roof that really was supposed to have been replaced by now. But the fact is, it's paid for. I don't have a mortgage. And although it rains in the house, and that other computer's fried, by the way. But folks are, well, you know, you should move into this, or you should get a double. Why? I have had my issues, but I'm still in this house, and I know some people who've lived in 5 or 6 different houses just in the last 20 years. You know, not to say that I've been here for almost 40, 30-something years I've lived here on this place. So, well, wait a minute, but I'm still here, and the house is still here. Some of its problems are still here, where the flooding and the this and that, but other people have problems with water and mold and stuff. Anyway, so, and I created some of my own problems, but thus I have to dig so deep on that front footer out there to get down in the clay so the water doesn't try to pop up through my floor in the kitchen, which is right there, trying to solve a problem, and have a nice porch that is also a greenhouse. But to the idea, though, of an adventure, life is an adventure, you know, so why not take a chance and go, well, I don't know if I should do that. Now, again, in the title of this video, it says, have fun, but be careful. That's all. So when the shamans talk about, you know, walking with the spirits and going to the other side and all that, you know what the first thing they want to say to you? Be careful. The table's a little wobbly. Settle down that way. Thank you, Bob. And I'm out of coffee for the moment. I had to make a new pot. But I am drinking some dew, you know, an old Southern favorite. That's got warm really fast. But anyway, but so we can't be afraid of life. We can't be afraid of the adventure. I mean, let's not go stick our foot in a crocodile's mouth. But simply, somebody was asking me one day, they said, well, don't you have alligators down there? And I said, yeah. Well, but alligators, well, there's an alligator at the Hillsborough River State Park right outside of Tampa. Between Tampa and Zephyr Hills, closer to Zephyr Hills. But anyway, they got one that like just lays on the bank just down from where you put the canoes in. And the idea, though, that, and when I grew up there in Tampa and so forth, we used to go out to the river all the time. At the time when there was a swimming hole there in the river, somebody would holler, "Gator!" and we'd all go to the edge of the water and watch the gator swim upriver with its mate. And then we'd go, "Clear," and everybody go swimming again. No, you can't do that now. But back in the day, it was like, not a problem. So people have learned over the years that alligators are these nasty, evil, wicked, no, crocodiles are. Alligators, totally different. They will come up now at Niagara River State Park. There are gators that literally lay up on the bank where you bring your boat in. So there are times when you bring your boat in, there's a gator on either side of you. And I'm talking about a 10, 12 footer. I ain't talking about some little baby. And it says all pets must be on a leash. Well, some lady like, woo, on my little dog Peppy, you know, got out of the car and little Chihuahua and ran down to, you know, right in front of the gator barking at it. And a second later, that dog was gone. Chump. And then like, oh my God. It was like, you're standing in front of the sign that says, don't let your pets out the leash. There are alligators who like little tiny animals. Now, you got a Doberman Pinscher, it ain't going to mess with it because it's too big. So, you know, but people, oh, you have alligators in the river. Well, I would never go down that river. This is not what the person said, but there are people who have said this. But if there's an alligator, I'm not getting on it. I might see it. Part of the adventure. Trust me, I would rather be on the river with maybe an alligator, than to like drive through downtown Tampa. You know, oh my God, you get on here, you take your life in your, or Atlanta, pick a town. But You know, oh my God, no. I would rather be on the water, you know, like this high above it with an alligator on the bank than drive through some of this traffic, because I know the alligator's probably not going to bother me. But there are, you know, drivers that'll kill me in a high speed. So, but anyway, but life. So we all look at life as an adventure in some way, shape, or form. But some people, and I used to, I'm part of this. And, you know, and years ago, I had this realization that, wait a minute, yeah, I got to go to work, and yeah, I've accepted this job, and yeah, I'm making money, and I'm putting it away, and I helped pay for the house, and I did some rework, or redid the bedroom upstairs, and I all paid for. Got a, you know, a really nice shed and some shop tools and stuff, all paid for. So it's like, yeah, so I invested my money in tools and building materials and stuff like that. It's a shame I couldn't quite finish out that plan back then, having gotten sick and all this, but you know, I'm still here, and I still haven't given up. But many people are just starting to give up in life, and that the adventure has gotten stale. Well, if I've been down the same section of the river and it's getting a little boring to me, I pick another river, or I pick another spot, or I go upstream, or you know, I have the ability to change what my adventure is. Now, I still have to drive to wherever it is. I still have to unload the canoe or kayak. I have to do my thing. There's all this prep to get there. When I'm through, I got to get it all out, put all the stuff back up. And so there is prep before and after any river trip, right? So there is the humdrum of getting ready and getting back, right? While you're on this trip, unless you pay somebody else to do it. But the idea, though, that there's humdrum before and after, but there's the adventure in between. So, well, okay, and it's like a really long weekend where you go out and have a crap load of fun someplace. Well, every day, this used to be my motto, but it was my excuse to get drunk and to get high. Every day is a holiday. Well, every day is an adventure. If you get in your car and drive somewhere, you know, some places are highly likely you're going to get hit at some point. Struck, crushed. I've been hit by so many other people when I was minding my own business, you know. But I've got an old Chevy it's in Isuzu. It's got 275,000 miles on it. My Mazda has 279,000 miles on it. So between two vehicles that I bought brand new, I've got a half a million miles in driving. And that's not the only two vehicles I've had. So I have been 500,000 miles of driving at least that in two vehicles. There's nobody out there. So every day has been an adventure in driving and doing and things. But people nowadays, there's no adventure to it. Well, it's stay at home. Well, there's the adventure of self-awareness. There's the adventure of self-creativity. There's the adventure of reading a new book you've never read before, or rereading something and finding something new in what you read years before, or revisit, or calling somebody, or the adventure is up to us. I mean, there are things out there that are on the web now that you used to have to pay big money for, and that's video editing software. And so you can go online, and for $1, some of it's for free, and that you can edit video. Back in the day, I would pay hundreds of dollars for video editing software that didn't have to work anywhere near what it does now. So times have changed in the last 20 years just in that respect. The cats are out playing in the yard, and he wants to go chase. No, calm down, Duggar. But anyway, but in the adventure of it all, there are so many things you can partake in that are free, or a nominal fee if you can't travel somewhere or you don't have the means. I mean, you can go to a good college now online and probably learn just as much because you don't have all the rigmarole and the hassle, but just saying. Years ago, you know, a correspondence school was considered, oh my God, you went to a correspondence school. Yes, I did. I went to a 2-year correspondence school on forestry, got my 2-year degree in the whole 9 yards. Then I got busted and couldn't work for the forestry department. But anyway, I learned a lot, and I still have the knowledge because now I have 18 acres that I manage myself. Not as well as I'd like, but the idea is so. But I've learned a lot from the knowledge that I gained taking the correspondence. You can't take that knowledge away from me, plus the 40 years of experience of living here and just being alive and nature and so forth. Anyway, so, but the adventure. So the people who think that life is boring have, I say they've lost their sense of adventure, because there's so many more opportunities now to do stuff without leaving the seat of your britches. But there's so many other things that you can do at the cost of a kayak or rent one or something. But, you know, I paid less than $250 for each of my kayaks. And so for that investment, I've had them for years. Okay. Me and several other people have gone out and gone camping and paddled. And the canoe that I bought cost me $275. I've been many a mile with it, with camping and stuff and this and that. And I still own them. So in what I may have paid someone else, I now, sure, you know, but when I pass, I've got all of these vehicles and trailers and paddles and boat motors and all this stuff. As far as I know, well, I do know somebody that would take care of it and love it, but he ain't blood family, just saying. But anyway, the idea though that something can change at any moment. My friend backing off of that trailer and having a riding lawnmower land on top of him, and now he's in the hospital with a trach and he's knocked out. Oh my God. And he's just a few years younger than me. I think he's just 60, 61 or 2. But anyway, but the idea though, that it's like at a minute's notice, we know about our friend Brian. And this is not to be scared, but we can't lose our sense of adventure. Every day is an adventure. And if we just go, well, I don't know. Now, sitting quiet and meditating, that can be an adventure. But the idea, though, that we can't expand ourselves. We can take the experience with us. I remember my granny, the one I talk about, Mary, Miss Mary, Grandma Raleigh. We took Granny when she was in her 70s up into Sapphire Valley in North Carolina. And I was trying to remember the name of that on a video recently, and I couldn't remember, but Sapphire Valley. They rented a condo up there. We went up and stayed for a week, and Granny was there, and she's with a walker. We took her out to see some waterfalls and things, and Granny, all she could do, and I realize now, I'll be 68 next month, right? So I'm like, Granny was like 71 or 2, and she was a little slower than me. But I can still think, how would I do if I took myself where I took my granny back in the day when I was this strapping young guy at 25 or 30? And I think to myself, holy crap, Granny really made an effort. Why? Because of the experience of being in the mountains and seeing the waterfalls firsthand, where she'd never seen them before, even at her age. So she couldn't participate. She couldn't get down all the stairs, but she went to the mountains. She could feel the spray off of the waterfalls. She could look down, you know, that valley outside of Franklin. I can't remember. I used to know it anyway, and see the grandeur of the mountains and of nature and so forth. And she was better because of the experience, because of the adventure. Even though she was 71 or 2, she still went. And I'm like, I'm still going as long as, you know, it's got to cool down a little bit. It's a little too warm to go jumping on the river at the moment. But I do not want to repeat 3 days on the river again. This is August 4th, which is today, and 5th and 6th, several years ago, was the 3 days that I spent on the river with walking with the spirits and all that stuff. But anyway, so we're looking at this time of the year and how hot it is. And I'm thinking to myself, so I'm kind of reliving the trip in my head, if you will. And like, I really want to go back down the river, but it's really clogged with logs and the water's barely running and it's hotter than you know what. And the water's warm too because it's low. So, and it's stagnant, and, you know, and it's like not the best time of the year to go get on the water. At least on the Ochlockonee where, you know, I'm discussing. But anyway, but the idea though, that I really still want to go, my spirit still wants to go. Okay. I still want the adventure. And so maybe I don't go on the Ochlockonee. Maybe I'm going to go find some water someplace else. But the idea though, that it's like, and I found myself this way a few years ago. Well, I don't know. I can't do this by myself. I can't go to the river. And what if something happens to me? You've heard me talk about this before, and you got to get over that fear. Well, all of the fear and the chaos are trying to shove down our throats right now. We need to take an adventure. We need to be adventurous. Now, does that mean to run into a crowd of sick people or something? No. But we need to just, you know, not worry about some of this stuff. And I understand that they're actually in some places want to make it law that you must wear your mask even if you're outside in a park that's not congested. That you must wear a mask if you're outside your house or apartment building, whatever, all the time, everywhere. Now, anybody that knows anything about a virus, and just look it up, it can't just float on the air. And it'll only last for so long on a surface. So, and many of the masks, a virus passes right through anyway. So this, I did the thing the other day about the mask. They are ramping this mask stuff up big time, my friends. And we need to nip it in the bud and go, I'm sorry, but your science is lying to me. Sorry, but you're lying to me. Now, the political people, elections coming up. So if some of these dingbats are still, they may be up for election this November. So what you do is you tell your local folk, listen here, we don't agree with this. Okay, government building, wear a mask, okie dokie. At Walmart, if they say it, but when I get to the parking lot, it's my freaking business what I want to do. But this, but this idea though that we're all, if you're going to be anywhere, you must wear a mask. No, sorry. A few things running through my head I'm not going to say out loud. But the idea though, they're freaking crazy. You know, they think, but the folks are buying it, but only up to a point. They're going, wait a minute. What? I mean, here, for example, NASCAR, when they first came back, there's nobody in the stands, right? There are all these people, and they all got a mask on. And it's like the car drivers got a mask on before they put their helmet and the mask on. And I'm going, what the hell is wrong with you people? You're in your own race car. Are you afraid that the germs are going to fly out of the other guy's window and come through your car and you're going to get the 19 while you're driving? I mean, many people are starting to come out and say, listen, sure, we need to be careful in certain circumstances, but the rest of this is hogwash. Please wake up. Doctors, folks in the medical profession, all the medical folks that I know, they all say the same thing. You shouldn't wear a mask all the time. You regurgitate your own stuff. You know, the carbon dioxide that we're breathing out, we're breathing it back in. So we're not getting enough oxygen. And that many of these masks that people are wearing don't have the micron thing to keep the virus out. And if it did, we wouldn't be able to flip and breathe because they'd be so tight. So anyway, so people are becoming less adventurous is sort of my point. And life is becoming humdrum. And people are getting antsy and thisy and pissy and nasty, quite frankly. because they've been cooped up, and the whether it's a lie or not, whether it's true or not, or how we got it, where we got it, what the numbers are. We got to say, listen, we made it through the Zika virus. We made it through this virus. We made it through that virus. We made it through this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Count on our fingers how many viruses in my 68 years. And I'm still here. We never wore a mask unless we went into a hospital. And there were sick people. But this idea of what's going on now is bonkers. Is bonkers. Okay? And we know it. Now, as I've said, the jailers state that we should act a certain way. Doesn't mean we have to agree with it, and we don't have to give up our souls about it. If I have to wear a mask and the law states, or they're going to fine me or put me in a jail with other folks who haven't, so we can get more sick, and let's pass it around some more. But the idea, though, that we've lost our sense of adventure as human beings. So what good does all of this stuff do me, my house and this and that, and all of the tools and everything I collected was for my benefit. Now, I seriously thought I was going to be able to pass it on to my family, who probably don't want it. But I've got another friend of mine who comes and sees me and helps take care and do stuff. And I would will it to him. He's not a family member, but he's been better and closer family simply because he lives in the neighborhood, and we've become good friends over the years. So what do I do? But I do have, I'll gift it to him, or I'll gift that to this person. But what if, like my friend who's backing up his lawnmower, I don't have a lawnmower to back up off a trailer, but if somebody wants to give me one, I looked at him and said, I don't know. What would I do with it? Well, you could mow your yard. Yeah, but I could also get hurt. It cost me money. But anyway. But the idea, though, that from 1 minute of smiling and winking at his wife to having his chest crushed and a concussion, and now he's in the hospital in critical condition in a coma at Tallahassee Memorial. I mean, from 1 minute to the next. A perfectly simple thing that he'd done many times. And whatever happened, happened. We don't know. But I know my friend Randy, he was adventurous. He's a Marine. And, there is no ex-Marine, but he was a Marine. And he was like, he was, even though he's got diabetes in his legs and his feet, he was still adventurous. He still got up and did stuff. He was winking at his wife because he says, she told me yesterday, she said that he was telling that he and her were going to go do something special for her birthday. And he winked at her. And then right after that, that's when the accident happened to him. So the last thing she remembers is her husband going, babe, me and you are going to do something special, winking, and then having a 500-pound lawnmower, or big lawnmower, fall on you and crush your husband right in front of your eyes. And you can't stop it. What do? What do we do? Do we stop living? Do we stop doing stuff? Randy wouldn't do that. Now, I don't know what happened and how the thing, but I know backing stuff off of trailers, sometimes it'll shift and this and that, maybe a board. No, I don't know. But the point is, 1 minute, everything's hunky-dory, and the next moment, it ain't. Now, do we stop living? No. We just need to be careful, though. Like I said, I don't know what happened with my friend Randy, but in having pulled and backed and things on and off of trailers, all it would have had to done was something shifted, and he gave it a little bit of gas, and it moved to something. But to the point, we don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen in the next few instances. But I ain't giving up on this adventure. And what can I take with me? The experience. If it weren't for all you folks in the chat and on this channel, and with Milky Way Messenger and the tribe, the Soul Tribe, and everybody. And oh, by the way, Robert V and I have been emailing, and quite possibly we may go live tomorrow night, Wednesday the 5th, I think. Anyway, But there, we'll post that. He's supposed to call me. I'll have to check and see if he called while I was outside. But anyway, we can't stop the adventure. We can't. And just because it gets a little hard sometimes, I watched this movie today, and it was very inspiring. It's called Tracks. And it's about this young lady over in Australia that wanted to walk across Australia. 2,000 miles, 1,700 miles. She walked from one with camels and her dog that she had that she had to put down. Well, it was going to die. She did it a favor, but she walked 1,700 miles, most of it by herself, with help along the way and support from National Geographic. But it's on Tubi, and you know, for the price of watching a couple of commercials, it's worth it. But she interacted with the Aboriginals there. There was an old man who's older than me who walked 200 miles of the stretch with her to guide her through some of the sacred lands so she wouldn't have to go 160 miles more out of her way. And so, but the fact that people say, why are you doing it? She goes, because I can. And what is life? Was she in that about a 6 month or so stretch, and it's called Tracks because she left tracks in the sand. But anyway, the idea though that there Aboriginal folks that she met there in the desert and stuff were like, come on in, hon. Oh, you're walking across the desert. Well, good on you. Here's some provisions. We don't know if you're going to make it. There's no water in there, and watch out for this, but we're with you in spirit. Go for it, girl. And so, and how the Aboriginal folks live. I mean, you know, they had a fireplace in a wall, but no ceiling. And they were all kind of camped out outside, you know, and, you know, life's different there. But it reminded me a lot of how the native tribes here in America lived back in the day with the Pueblos or the this. I mean, you know, the Cherokee were building huts and houses, and they had real buildings. But the idea, though, that how these folk lived, what they considered as important, and for this old man, he walked this 200 miles with this girl because she needed it, and it was the experience of it. And to hang out with her and her camels, and to, you know, and to do the thing. It was the experience. Did he have to? No. He freaking volunteered to walk 200 miles across a desert. And he was at least in his late 60s or 70s. Boom, off he goes. He's, come on, let's go. Now, how many of us have that adventure in us? I don't want to lose mine. And it's not about just going down the river. Now, I don't like the desert, so we're going to leave that one out for me. But if the weather was cooler, you know, maybe I just can't do the hot weather. Like right now, I'm about to perish to death with this high humidity down here. I mean, it's literally dripping water out of the air. But anyway, it's almost been an hour that I've been sitting here yakking with you all. I love you all, I do, and I was thinking about it. I was thinking about you all today and different topics and stuff, and the thing about the mask and the video I did about the mask and so forth, and how we're made to be dancing. They're dancing us around. They're playing with our emotions. They're creating a chaos, and the silent majority of us, I do believe, are aware of this, because folks that are over 50, I say in my age group, I'll be 68 next month, aren't going, they're not buying it. They're going, no, I took biology. No, I worked for this. No, I did that. And so they're going along because the jailers said so. But I don't know how much longer that's going to last, because there is a crap, we don't have bars, but there is a crap load more of us than there are of them. Now, when you're in a real lockdown jail situation, you know, you can beat up a guard or two, but you ain't getting out unless you overtake the big guys and crash through the front door. But, you know, the fact that we still can drive around, the fact that we can still communicate with each other, the fact that we can still have discussion, whether we're touching each other or not. He touched me. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Anyway, Johnny touched me. But the idea, though, that the silent majority of us are not buying it. We'll go along with it. We'll be good little citizens. But we're not buying it. And the more you try to make us believe you, the more we're not. The more some of us are just going to go, just saying, you know. Now, I don't love to all truth in me. Hey, Danny Skylark, the cookie is crumbling. Hey, Michelle. Marionettes, yes. Hi, David Castle. There is many a slip betwixt a cup and the lip. Your next moment isn't guaranteed. Live for the right now. Right. We always talk about, you know, live in the now. And that's kind of sort of, you know, weird, maybe not. Hang on a second. I unplugged this computer to go outside and the battery's running down. I know it's only been an hour, but it's down to 43%. All right. I'm sorry, 49. But anyway, so, but the idea that be here now, exactly. And, you know, years ago, back in the late 60s and early 70s, there was a pamphlet, a book. And I would swear I still have it somewhere in my collection of books. But that the book was called Be Here Now. And it was a collection of thoughts and ruminations and poetry. I would like to find the book because I'm sketchy as to what was actually in it. But the title Be Here Now is always been like, well, yeah. You know, if we live in the past, it doesn't do us any good. I was reflecting on past things like my adventures in life and the several times that was seriously life-threatening, either freezing to death or heating to death or drowning or, you know, or being stranded in a remote area. But, you know, made it all out, all of the above. Up to this point anyway. And but the thing that all of these things have taught me is to adapt. When we got stuck on top of a mountain and the weather was 25 degrees and it had just quit raining and snowing up in North Georgia. I mean, right up there, man, near Elliott's Rock. Or Ellicott's Rock, actually. I think it is. But anyway, up there near the Chattooga where they filmed Deliverance, if any of y'all remember that movie with Burt Reynolds all them years ago. But sweet piggy. But we got stuck on a mountain and couldn't go, and we pushed the truck, and the truck went down the hill without us, and almost literally leapt off the mountain down into a crag. And it was just me and my brother, and from now on, anytime I go to a place like that, I always bring a come along now. But we dug it out, pushed it out, and otherwise it took us a whole afternoon to get ourselves all that mountain and into the night. And I mean, there was ice floating on the mud puddles up there, and some of the mud puddles were waist deep where we were at on this mountain, and the road had washed away. It was horrible. But I look back on it and go, you know, I've seen some other guys with four-wheel drives and all this equipment. Me and our little Isuzu went down the hill, and we made it. We made it. How did I make it 3 days on I mean, there are times when I'm just howling that because we were able to adapt to the situation. No matter how bad it was colder than snot. I mean, we're soaking wet. It's the high for the day was 25. So we were, you know, sweating, putting off heat, you know. And when the sun went down, it really got cold. And we're still soaking wet and covered in mud. But it was me and my brother Dan. We were like, no, we're the Knoll brothers, man. We're, you know, we can take on anything. Well, that was a few years back, 20 to be exact-ish. 25 more. Like, but anyway, but the idea though that we made it, we succeeded, but we had to adapt. We were using tree stumps and we were improvising with shovels and buckets. And I mean, we were improvising, but we succeeded because we didn't give up. We could have sat there and went, oh my God, we're stuck. We'll have to walk out. Nah. We dug ourselves out and bailed. Oh my God, thousands of gallons of water we bailed to get ourselves out. But it was an adventure. And I don't know whether or not tomorrow may rain and flood and I might have to bail again. Or it might get so hot or whatever, like it did them 6 or 7 years ago with the thing for me on the river, to where it's like I feel like I'm going to pass out and walk with the spirits. But it's an adventure nonetheless. So I'm not going to fear it. I'm going to, take some more water next time I go. I am a lot more prepared than I was back then for simple things because of what happened to me back then. So wisdom has come from experience. But if we don't experience anything, how are we going to gain any wisdom? Well, I watched a video. Well, are you going to get in a kayak with me? Well, but there are snakes in the swamp. There are snakes in the desert. There are snakes in the thing. There are snakes in the mud. There are snakes over it. Duh. Come to think of it, I haven't seen that many snakes when I have done. You don't see moccasins like you used to. Because people nowadays, if they see a snake on the river, it's a moccasin. And even the brown banded water snake down here is on the demise because the moccasins are mostly gone. But so everybody's shooting all the good snakes. Yeah, mankind. Man, if ET's looking down at us going, some of you people down there are a bunch of dumbasses. Just dumbasses. Now, since y'all are hanging out with me up to this point, a little bit of ET sort of woo-woo update. There are those factions that is reported. Now, I can't prove none of this, right? But it is reported that some of these factions are trying to continue to shut down the child trafficking and, well, human trafficking, not just child, but human trafficking in general. We'll see. There's also a lot of woo-woo out there that's suggesting that the powers that be up yonder, they're battling it out. They are seriously in combat mode. And that although for many of us who know who Dante is and the DSAK channel has been offline, it's the channel's still there. There's just no content. So they select it all and put it private, basically. But sometimes in a situation where there's a lot of stuff going on, they're not going to tell you the plan. In fact, they're not going to tell you much of anything. Well, what's going on these days? Oh, nothing. Had coffee with the wife the other day, So what else is new? Well, the kids played a video game. No, I mean, so what else is new? Well, the world goes on No, I mean, what else is new? They're not saying. Because the whole operation, they're not even going to try to slip and suggest that, well, I heard something. Nah. So it's gotten extremely quiet in certain areas, which I find interesting. Because some of the download stuff that I've just been like looking for confirmation through my normal sources, if you will, ain't nobody talking. And the ones that are going, yeah, there's a mess up going on up there. That's why it's so quiet. But if we think that this nonsense, and the massacre part of it, because they want us, There are young people who are getting respiratory illnesses because they have to wear a mask all the time while at work or something. So the Agenda 21 that many of us know about, and if you haven't, look it up. There's plenty of information, and they've been talking about this in Agenda 2030 or something anyway. So this Agenda 21 is supposed to be for next year. They wanted to depopulate. They wanted to piss a bunch of us off. Hey, Robert V. They want Agenda 21. They haven't killed enough of us off yet. You know, well, we didn't riot the way they thought we would, and we haven't taken the bait. Now, this is what has come down from the woo-woo side of things. There are those who, when they first started this experiment with human beings on this planet, as we're all hybrids from different places and parts and pieces. I mean, human beings are the only ones that's got their chromosomes and their DNA, you know, a twisted pair, and which has caused us havoc in the long run. But that their experiment has failed. Now, you might say, well, Hawkeye, what the hell are you talking about? They thought we were going to continue to be subservient. So to the bad guys, too many of us woke up. Think about it. So the good guys have been saying, if everybody wakes up, you know, then the rest of the universe will hear us. Well, that's partially true at least. But the idea, though, but the other side of the coin is the guys them folk that want to, and I use that term folk loosely, being all the universe, who've been coming here for millennia, they're the overlords of this place. Think about Dune, if you've ever watched the movie or read the books Dune by Herbert Hubert. Anyway, Dune. It's not hard, but the idea, though, that this, you know, this planet and the people were only, and their only thing, and when they got too smart, it was like, we're just going to blow the planet up. Now, you think about some of these things that are going on right now on this planet. Why would they want to do this? Because there's too many of us who've woken the F up, and the bad guys, they have lost control of, because they're still doing the same crazy shit over and over again. Hey, Robert V, did you try to call me? Did you get my email? Okay. But the idea, though, that so there is the good faction that wants to see the planet wake up, make the transition. The folks who originally wanted to, you know, keep us monkeys, because of certain things, we're not monkeys anymore. Generations of beings who are, you know, there's a 11-year-old young lady that I know through family and so forth. We'll be on tomorrow night. Okay, fine, Robert. And pick a subject. But the idea, though, that there are some young folks out there who are extremely intelligent with, you call them crystal beings or whatever you want to call them. But they're here now and they're smart. And they're not taking some of this stuff because they look and go, well, you know what? We're taking biology and we're learning about this and the virus. And how come, if the virus is so small, why do we all have to wear it? They're asking the questions because the answers are right in front of them. A virus is small and a mask is this and blah, blah, blah. So, and wait a minute. So there's too many of us who are catching on to what they tried to keep us from knowing. And they lost. But, so what is the bad guy's option? To hit the delete button. What? HAARP, weather, this, the virus, the thing, the that, the. There's not enough of us gone to make Agenda 21 viable the way the originators of it discussed. So now they're going to have to pull out all the stops, my friends, to make up for what they've lost, what they considered they lost, or what they didn't gain. What they were hoping to gain was fewer people and more freedom of whatever. Don't these rich people have enough freedom anyway? They can go anywhere and do anything they want. They can buy and sell wherever they want. What the hell do they need to get rid of us for? Because they're in control. And it was the plan all along. It was Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and Agenda this. And again, I say, let's take these people that have these silly agendas and let's agendicize them and hang them from a tall oak tree or a short oak tree. I don't care. Let them swing in the breeze and feel Mother Nature as they take their last breath, because they don't care whether or not we live or die. Now, I'm not all for, killing and maiming and all of that, but those folk who, I don't know, something needs to be done. And if it's public hangings to get people the idea across, maybe we should bring that back and prove to the rest of the planet, listen, we're not taking your stuff anymore. We don't like your lines. We don't appreciate the chaos you're keeping us in. And maybe it would just be better to give us one of your ray guns and we'll vaporize you. We'll skip the hanging part altogether. We'll make it quick. And you're gone. So, but with that said, though, we all need to keep our eyes and ears open. The woo-woo part of this is the bad guys want to get their experiment failed. Just keep that in mind. So when you go, why is all this stuff happening now? Because it was already supposed to have happened. Okay? Agenda 21 has failed them up to this point. So what are they going to do? I don't know. But they haven't slowed down, have they? They're trying to pick up the pace, but they're doing the same stupid stuff over again. And that what we need to do is just keep an eye on them. Now, where we need to say no, we need to say no. But if I'm going in the government building to get my tag for my car, I'm just going to go, okay, put on the mask, go do the thing, and then get out. That's it. I'm coming back to the house in my little piece of, paradise. And whatever else goes on up the road and out in the public, it is my concern, but not, it's not my concern. When I go out there, it is. And I pray for all of you who have to interact with out there all the time. I used to, but anyway. But with that said, so I'm going to shut up here. This wasn't supposed to be a long visit. I was going to do 20 minutes and come back in the house, and here I am still yakking. My friends, I love you. I do. And it was you guys that sort of prompted this thing, in that so many of us are, we know. But what we got to do is we got to keep the energy between us going. We got to keep the knowledge without being upset, because even if they do try to destroy us all, which, they've given it a hell of a time, null time, zero time. The null set is the zero set. It's the empty set. So actually, no time should exist at all if this were the null set. But anyway, hey, 65 Starlight. Agenda, tell them to go eat Rufus poop and kick rocks back to their suit. Yeah, exactly. Truth to me, those wilted flowers make me laugh. Okay. Oh, too many Davids around sometimes. All right. Well, I'm going to get off of here. I just want to say, you folks are making the difference. And we don't need to necessarily be screaming at one another to get the message across. It's being felt. And there are the folks up higher up who are going, you know what? There are a lot of people when given the chance, they're not as dumb as other folks are trying to make out to be. They're not as stupid as we try to make them out to be. And they can be a lot more creative and productive than if we give them a little bit of incentive, like self-pride, and not ego, but self-pride and confidence, and oh my God, what we can achieve. Yeah, but that was not their agenda. Just saying. So Teresa, Truth in Me, Michelle, Robert V, David, whoever else I missed. I'm when I go to try to scroll this thing, it goes all weird on me, and I swear I'm going to get me a mouse. Fox Rodriguez, we got to get even, Malcolm X style, get into the system. Yeah, a lot of people think that Malcolm X was really that much of a, he was not necessarily for wanting to beat people up and blow things up either. It was people around Malcolm but Malcolm X was, had learned from Martin Luther King and realized that you may have to stand up against them, but it doesn't mean you have to attack them. There's a difference. You know, stand strong and be defensive, but, you know, should we attack them? Oh, then that's all out war, and they will suggest that we're the ones that started the war. No. But, you know, there were 10,000 Chinese a couple of years ago that walked through the streets of somewhere, and they just all got together. It was unbelievable. This massive humanity just walking through the city. They weren't singing anything. They weren't chanting anything. They just got together in protest. There was no violence because there were too many of them. But nobody wanted to fight. They just all got together and said, we're standing together. Now, I can't remember what the incident was, but I applauded them. I was like, you know, a few of them had signs, but most of the people just walked together. And whether we carry a sign, whether we chant, whether we make up a song and we all sit around and sing Kumbaya or whatever, doesn't matter. Are we all walking together? We all know what they're up to. We all know that we have choices, and some of them are going to be very difficult for many of us. But at the same time, life is an adventure. What the hell? Say you go over a waterfall in a canoe. You might not die. Depends on how tall the waterfall is. I was out in Arkansas and saw this one, and I've been off of a 20-some foot waterfall in a kayak. It was so much fun. I toted the kayak back up the hill, back up the cliff, and did it again on the Broad River up near Athens, Georgia. Yeah, freaky. People just shooting off this thing. Landing in the water below. It is great. But when I first saw it, I was like, I'm not doing that. Not me. And then somebody says, well, come on. And I saw this person. I saw little kids doing it. And I saw girls doing it. I was like, wait a minute now. Am I that much of a, you know? I had to go. It's so great I did it again, right? And if it hadn't been for toting that damn kayak 20 or 30 feet up the side of that where the waterfall is there on the Broad River, you know, if I could have done it a repeat way, you know, now diving off the rocks, that's fun, but shooting off and then just going off in the kayak and landing, I got to say, crazy. So I have been off a waterfall twice in a kayak. And no, you don't necessarily die when you do it. You can get banged up if you don't hold on right, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, there are folks that have been off 5 and 60 huge waterfalls and kayaks too. Not me, but I have done it. And I do get the thrill and I do get the idea. But at the same time, you wear a helmet and you're careful, you know. And there were a lot of people around. So if something did happen, man, they were in to get you. But you had your PFD on. But anyway, that's my part about being careful. So our adventure is continuing. This adventure of life This river of life is going to keep on going. And put your inner tube on. You might want to get a snorkel or a face mask in case we get hit with a big wave. But long and short of it is, let's not be afraid. Let's just meet it head on. We're going to deal with it. We'll get through it one way or the other. And if it kills us, I don't mean this disrespectfully or negatively, but if it kills us in the process, we'll be on the other side, and this life won't matter anymore then, right? So let's do the best we can. And for God's sakes, let's have adventure. Keep the adventure in us, even if it's just a spark, because that's the only thing we can take with us. Got to make defectors in our military. Yeah, there are folks in the military who are thinking differently. It ain't like it was back in the day when I was growing up, Fox. Just saying. Be like water. Yes, Michelle. Soul Tribe is on at 10 p.m. tomorrow night, Hawkeye. Yeah, and I think it's going to be me, Teresa. Michelle, Hawkeye's going to be on the show. I love you all. Thank you. So I am going to close this with the law of three. And I do think about you all because that's why I went and got to this and sat outside. Anyway, I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, and the wisdom from the universe, and to continue to reject the silliness and the craziness and the chaos. I continue to pray that each and every day, each and every one of you will continue to accept, receive, and share the wisdom, the knowledge, and the healing of the universe. And each and every day, I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, all of your relatives, and all of your relations, past, present, and to come, will learn to accept and receive the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom of the universe, and continue to share it, and to continue to reject the craziness that comes into our life. So, love you. Thank you, Fox. I haven't seen you on before. Don't you have? Robert V, 9 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Michelle, always. Teresa, and anybody else back there in the back. So, thank you all. Have a good evening. Have a pleasant tomorrow. And with any luck, I'll see you tomorrow night on the Soul Tribe channel with Robert V. And we're going to be discussing stuff. So come hang out with us. So my friends, till next time from South Georgia, TTFN for now. Ta-ta for now. Love you. Bye. And wing. Thank you, Bob. We appreciate it. And to my good dog, Duggar, who came back during the show. We love you all. Until next time. We love you all. Keep it together. And remember, man, life is an adventure. And that's our experiences are the only things that we can take into the next life. So let's take them, good or bad. Bye, all. Till next time. Hugs.